My name is Madison Barra, and welcome to my podcast, where it's all about teaching you how to lose weight, keep it off, and actually enjoy the process. I've lost over 70 pounds, and these are the failures and lessons I've learned along the way. Hope you enjoy and subscribe. Today, I would like to talk about a character trait that I have seen in pretty much every single woman that I've coached. That is their superpower, but their greatest downfall. And it's kind of at this point in a lot of women's journey, this character trait is actually the thing that is holding them back from reaching their weight loss potential. And I want to share this character trait with you because I bet if you're listening to me right now, you have it. And it is holding you back to some degree. And once I explain it, you'll be like, oh yeah, this totally makes sense. Now, caveat, this is kind of a sliding scale of this character trait, right? You can have more of it, you can have less of it, but pretty much every single woman that I have coached that I've run into has this character trait. Now, to demonstrate this character trait, instead of just saying it, I want to share a story with you that demonstrates it in me, because even I have it. So, here's a funny story. So, about a month ago, a couple weeks ago, I was getting a massage, and Ryan and I, my husband, we have a massage therapist that we bring to the house. So he drives to the house with his table, we set him up, and he does our massages at home, which is pretty awesome. So he sets up in the basement. He does Ryan first. Now, Ryan loves his massages like he's getting beat up. Like he wants elbows in there. He wants his glutes reamed out, his shoulders reamed. Like he wants everything stripped. Like he needs a strong masseuse for the massage that he wants. So Jason, our massage guy, he gives Ryan what he wants. And then I made the mistake of scheduling my massage right after Ryan. I should have been before Ryan, because now Jason, our masseuse, he's in this Ryan massage mode. So now he goes to town on my body like he was going to town on Ryan's body. So he's using his elbows, he's like putting full pressure in there. And I pride myself on having a pretty high pain tolerance. Or maybe I like to think I do. But I was struggling. I was sweating, my face in the face cradle. I was squishing my face, my eyes. I was like mouthing swear words. I was like just trying to breathe through it, calm down, because at the end of the day, it was good for me. It wasn't hurting me. My muscles needed it, but it was really, really uncomfortable. And I've had a lot of massages in my day, but never ever have I wanted to push off of the massage bed and say, like, wait, no. Stop with the pressure. Never have I ever wanted to push off, like really quickly panicky thing. Stop. That's how sensitive my muscles were and how intense he was pressing. But this character trait that I'm talking about, it popped out in this moment, and I said nothing. I was sitting there suffering because I didn't really want to hurt his feelings and say, hey, you suck, stop, right? I didn't want to do that. And so luckily, about 5 minutes later, he started to loosen up the pressure, maybe because he realized I was so tense. But after this massage, I felt like I was beat up. Like I had a crazy workout. My muscles were sore. I felt bruised. My body parts were hot because so much blood was rushing there. I had a headache because as he was massaging, he was releasing all these toxins that were rushing to my head. So it felt like it was a workout after this massage. So once I got time to reflect on this crazy massage, I realized that this character trait wasn't serving me anymore. And that character trait was agreeableness. So being agreeable, or having the character trait agreeableness, is usually a feminine trait. Usually it's in females. Obviously it can be in males, but I deal with females, so I've seen it a lot among females. And this agreeableness, what it did in that moment, in that massage for me, it made me put my own interest aside for the sake of preserving somebody else's feelings. I didn't want to hurt his feelings. I didn't want him to know he wasn't doing a good job, even though I was paying for this service. My mind was still like, oh no, don't do it. Don't hurt his feelings. Don't make it awkward, blah, 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 blah. So to some degree, if you're listening to me, you probably have this trait, and you've probably seen it pop up in many ways across many, many different areas. Another area where it used to pop up for me is when I was a teenager getting haircuts. I would hate my haircut. I went to one haircut where they unevenly cut one side of my hair to the other. You can clearly see it, but I still said, thank you, I love it, and walked away and paid and tipped. Right? It's this agreeableness where as women, particularly, we avoid conflict. So we like to agree with people, or we at least don't disagree with them to prevent a debate or something like that. So we become very agreeable and we kind of shy away from conflict, right? We become really good at keeping the peace, right? We keep the peace in our household, we keep the peace in our workspace, blah, blah, blah. So what ends up happening is we avoid conflict and we're trying to keep the peace all the time. And because we avoid conflict, we're not very good in a conflict situation, right? Even though maybe there are small conflicts that arise, because we aren't in that position very often, we get uncomfortable. Because we get uncomfortable, we don't really know how to handle it, and it feels worse or bigger or more uncomfortable than it actually needs to be. And we kind of either in our minds, we internalize things not very well, or externally we react because we don't know how to cope properly in this situation. So not liking conflict and going out of our way to put ourselves in discomfort or ourselves at a disadvantage to save somebody else, to keep them agreeing with us, to keep them liking us, to not start a fight or a debate or a disagreement, all that stuff. Now, by practicing that, what this also does to us is make us not very good at taking criticism, right? So we don't go out of our way for conflict, or we avoid it. And then because of that, we're also not very good, or we don't necessarily have the skills to take criticism, which in my opinion, another word for criticism would be, feedback. In my opinion, criticism and ability to take feedback is one of the biggest indicators of how successful you will be on your weight loss journey. If you think you are right, if you are always questioning your coach, if you, if you're already discounting a program or an offer or an option or a thing or a stat, if you're discounting these things before you've given them real chances, you're kind of keeping yourself in this box of, I already know it. And if you already knew the answer, you'd be where you'd want to be, right? So there's clearly something missing or something more you could learn. But because, again, we tend to be agreeable as women, we avoid that conflict. We also don't know how to accept criticism. So whether that is, reacting not optimally or not productively externally when we receive criticism or are in conflict, or we don't react very well internally. We internalize things, we overthink, overanalyze, beat ourselves up, etc. So if you're listening to me and you're like, yep, I'm super agreeable, or I can be in certain situations, and I don't like hurting people's feelings, and I don't want to start a fight, and I want to keep the peace, and also if somebody criticizes me or giving feedback, I take it, makes me feel bad, I beat myself up sometimes, I'm really hard on myself. If that's where you're at, then you have this agreeableness trait. Now, I think it can be a powerful trait because I consider myself a very likable person. A lot of people really like me because I am agreeable. I go out of my way to make sure that they're comfortable, that they're heard, that their opinions are heard and validated, and so on and so forth. So it allows me to be very relatable, right? So I don't, and as a coach, of course, that's important. You guys want to trust me with your stories, your wins, your struggles, your intimate details. Like, you guys trust me with that stuff. So being agreeable has served me, but there are places in my life and in my weight loss journey where this no longer serves me. Because what happens if you don't like conflict or you avoid conflict, you do not learn, or do not learn how to master, at least, standing up for yourself, right? How many women listening to this call would say if you were in conflict, you'd have a hard time standing up for yourself, or you'd have to be really pushed really far to actually put your foot down and set boundaries, right? Or if you were going to stand up for yourself, your voice would shake. That's me, right? I can definitely stand up for myself now. It's just my voice shakes when I do it because I'm uncomfortable and nervous. So this trait has made me, and a lot of the women that I see that I coach, not able to stand up for themselves. And then on the flip side, because it's more difficult to receive criticism and feedback, they're now also not able to grow. So now here we are, not standing up for ourselves and not growing, or not growing as fast as we should be. And that is the perfect recipe for putting everybody else first. That's what I was getting at. There's my point. Is that ringing any bells? So this is the perfect, this trait makes you amazing and nurturing and loving and likable. It's also going to be the thing that makes you resentful and bitter, because everybody else comes first. And when is there time for you? And one of my favorite quotes about agreeableness, I think this was Winston Churchill, and he said, "It is more agreeable to have the power to give than to receive." Now, people who are agreeable, you already know that giving's important. You probably give everything you've got most of the time. But when's the last time you've given to yourself? Hmm? And if you want to be successful on your weight loss journey, you have to start taking that agreeableness and using it on yourself. We beat ourselves up. We're tough on ourselves. We're never good enough. We're not worthy. We're never going to reach our goal. But you don't talk to anybody else that way. You don't give anybody else that energy. You've wasted your energy externally. Now you've got nothing left for you internally. And that's a recipe for disaster, because eventually you're going to burn out. You're going to get resentful. You're going to have nothing left in your cup. And if your cup is empty, how do you think that you can continue to fill somebody else's up? It's only a matter of time until you've got nothing left to give if you're not replenishing yours, because an overflowing cup gives without resentment, gives without anxiety, gives without anger, gives without passive aggressiveness. Have you been giving with a little bit of passive aggressiveness? Have you been giving with expectations? Have you been giving with resentment lately? Are you mad, angry, resentful that your body's not where it wants to be because you've been putting so much focus on other people and other things and not yourself? It's probably this trait that we didn't even realize that brought us here and made us who we are, strong women. But now when it comes to your health, it's going to be the thing that throws you off, because if you don't stand up for your health, nobody will. Nobody will, because everybody else is more important to themselves. And that's the way that it should be. But if that's the way that it should be, then you better adopt that too. And you better be more important to yourself than anybody else. Have you been doing that? Or have you been so focused about not stirring the pot, not wanting to start fights, not wanting to get into a conflict or hurt somebody's feelings? What about your feelings? What about your feelings? You are important. And I know that you're most likely not as happy as you know you could be. And it is time to be selfish. You have to be selfish, truly selfish, in order to be truly selfless. Once you have everything you need and you are secure in yourself and you know you have control of your body and your mind and X, Y, and Z, then you can give so freely because you're so secure with what you've got. You don't feel like you're losing anything by giving. When you feel like you're losing part of you, or you're losing your time, your energy, your effort by giving somebody else, well, then you might as well not give, because now it comes with strings attached or negative energy. And that's not a giving worth giving. Nobody really wants to receive that, although they might act like it. In hindsight, in the long run, they don't want that type of giving. So if you think you're giving out of the goodness of your heart, you're not even giving in a productive way. And so if you really want to speed up your weight loss results, if you really want to take your health serious, you need to be disagreeable. You need to be disagreeable when it comes to you, your body, and your health. You have boundaries that people do not cross. And if they do, there are consequences. And will people get upset? Yes. And will you lose people in your life? Maybe. And will people be annoyed? And will they talk to you and mock you and call you that person? Yeah. But guess what? You can put your head on the pillow at night knowing you stood up for yourself. And let me tell you, there is no feeling that beats that when you are your own ride or die. And you're probably missing that. You're missing that. People in your life need to, number one, know you take your body seriously by your actions, but they need to feel that you take it serious. And that's your whole energy and attitude around this. People can know just by being in your presence that there's no BS allowed. And if there's been BS happening in your presence, your energy's off. And that starts internally. People mirror you. People will give you back what you give to them, either knowingly or unknowingly, whether actually or energy-wise. People are, if there's people in your life who aren't supporting you, or who could be more supportive, or who always sabotage you, or who are even just neutral, they're giving you what you're giving back. If you got a loving family that maybe they are supportive, but they don't really go out of their way to make sure you're not tempted, or they don't go out of their way to hide the cookies when they eat them, so you want some and then you give up on your diet because of it, then you need to put the energy that you take it serious, because these people in your life don't believe that you do, because you haven't proven to them. And even though maybe you've proven it to yourself, it takes even longer for other people to see it, just based on your past history of what they've seen of you, based on the agreeableness, right? As women, as mothers, daughters, aunts, cousins, we take care of people. That's what we're good at. But when do we get to take care of ourselves? because there's a finite amount of energy we have in our lives to give to everybody else. It will run out. And if you do want to take care of people, if you do want to be around long enough to take care of other people, it's time to look in a mirror and disagree. Be disagreeable. Stir the pot. It's really uncomfortable at first. It really, really is. It feels wrong because we're not used to it. But once you get over that hump, once you set those boundaries and people respect you, then it becomes easier. Then health is welcomed into your life and it sticks in your life because of the vibration that you vibrate at, the frequency that you vibrate at, of no BS, of my boundaries, of this is important to me. Agreeableness is a great trait and I wouldn't trade it. But before I lost my 80 pounds, that was the thing that made me gain the most weight. When I owned my gym, I gained 50 pounds in the first year of owning it because I was so focused on paying the bills, making the business grow, taking care of my husband, taking care of my clients, wondering what my family was doing and if they missed me. And that's how I gained 50 pounds. By being completely selfless, I gained 50 pounds. Gaining weight is selfish. Putting yourself in that position is selfish. Because now, selfish in the bad way, because now you're taking years off your life. Your husband didn't sign up for that. Your kids didn't sign up for that. Maybe you can't play with your kids as much as you'd want, your grandkids as much as you want because you're out of breath. That's not fair to them. You get my point. It's all about perspective here. And to be in the right perspective, to set those boundaries, guess what, ladies? It's time to be disagreeable in this area, right? We don't want to be assholes, but we do need to be very strong with our standards for our health because that's the only thing that matters. Doesn't matter how much money you have, how many friends you have. If you paid off your house, you've got a nice car. It doesn't matter if you're not healthy. If I could give you $1 million, but you die tomorrow. If I could give you $1 billion today, but the catch was you die tomorrow. Nobody would take that deal. That's how precious your life is. That's how priceless your life is. You got to start acting like it. We've all got to start acting like it more. And so that's my little spiel of kind of, how that agreeableness served me and then stopped serving me in my health journey. Now, I'm still agreeable in my nature, and that is who I am as a person, generally across the board. But when it comes to my health, I am disagreeable. I'm not going to go spend time with you if spending time with you consists of eating food in front of the TV. I'm not going to go out to dinner with you if it always involves binge drinking. I'm not going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to spend time with you if all you do is criticize what I eat. If all you do is point out X, Y, and Z and I'm weird and I do this. I'm not. And people know that in my life. And it took me a while and people didn't like it. And I lost some friends. But guess what? I love myself. So I don't care. And I want you to be able to feel that as well. So if you take anything away from this call, it is that pay attention. Pay attention to how the agreeableness has been slowing down your weight loss progress or the very thing that was sabotaging you all along. And then think about, okay, what's the opposite of that? And how can I slowly work in being a little bit more disagreeable? What are some small boundaries I can start to set at home, right? So you can start setting boundaries with your husband or maybe your kids. You don't have to go to your mother-in-law first. You don't have to go to your uncle first. Start small with the people who love you and you can start building up your standards there so that then they have your back when you do try to branch out further into the world. So thank you. If you found this podcast valuable, I hope you leave us a 5-star review. And if you want to learn more about the Fit Queen way of weight loss, visit www.fitqueen.com. Thank you for listening and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss another episode.